I'm Alex. I'm 22. This is my story. These words mark the beginning of a journey I never imagined I'd have to take, a journey of self-discovery, defiance, and ultimately liberation. In the mirror of my early life, there was an image of perfection, a family lauded by our neighbors for our pristine home and flawless gatherings. Yet beneath those gleaming surfaces, the reality was more complex, steeped in unspoken demands and a suppressive need for control. From as far back as I can remember, my family's picture-perfect reputation came with hidden rules, strict expectations, and subtle manipulations that smothered the parts of me that dared to dream wildly. My father, with his stern declarations, made it clear that ambition was only acceptable if it aligned with his vision, while my mother's cool, measured detachment masked a constant reminder to conform. Their praise was as conditional as it was scarce, and the love I received carried an undercurrent of "you must be better," slowly chipping away at my innate self-worth. Those early cracks in our facade were faint and easy to ignore at the time, but they also planted the seeds of resistance in my heart. Every offhand remark, every carefully measured gesture of control forced me to question the narrative that had been written for me. I began to wonder if the meticulously constructed image of our family was less about unity and more about control, a gilded cage in which my true self was a forbidden guest. Even then, amidst the unheard pleas and the silent struggles, there was a spark of defiance, a quiet promise that one day I would reclaim the narrative. This chapter of my life, filled with both the beauty of a seemingly perfect home and the inevitable sting of betrayal, sets the stage for everything that follows. It is here that the first tender yet tenacious roots of rebellion take hold, foreshadowing the tumultuous journey ahead. A journey away from a life crafted by others' expectations and toward a future defined by my own truths. My 22nd birthday began like any other, yet in its quiet hours, it bore the weight of an irreversible turning point. I stood in my small room, the early morning light barely touching the worn carpet as I methodically folded memories into each of two trusty suitcases. Every trinket, a faded photograph, a dog-eared book of dreams, a note from happier times, became a symbol of a life that was swiftly slipping away. I worked mechanically, each careful movement underscored by the knowing ache of betrayal. The room, once a cocoon of shared warmth, now felt like a stage for the final act of a performance I never auditioned for. I couldn't shake the echo of my own thoughts. Could it all be ending because they never really cared? Even as I packed my belongings, there was a spark somewhere amid the turmoil, a subtle, almost imperceptible flicker of defiance that whispered, "I deserve more." Then the silence of the house shattered. In the hallway, my father's voice cut through the air, as jagged and unyielding as broken glass. "You're nothing but a burden," he declared, his tone devoid of any compassion, each word a blow that echoed through the very walls. At that moment, his harsh dismissal felt like the shattering of an illusion, exposing the cold, desperate underbelly of our supposed perfection. My mother's response was not a rebuttal, but an overwhelming silence. Her indifferent gaze, fixed on the floor as if she were watching someone else entirely, spoke volumes. In that silence was a chill that made the room even darker, an absence of warmth that confirmed everything I had long suspected about the control they wielded over my soul. As I zipped up the final suitcase, a torrent of sorrow mingled with an undeniable surge of resolve. That devastating moment, where cruelty met indifference, lit the first true blaze of resistance in my heart. I realized then that there was no going back to a past built on false promises and conditioned compliance. Instead, every discarded item and every whispered memory was fuel for a new beginning. In that raw, poignant instant, heartbreak became the catalyst for my rebellion. I stepped away from the only home I'd ever known, carrying nothing but the essence of my true self and a determination to forge a life unchained from the legacy of control. The journey was beginning, one that promised a path towards reclaiming my identity, one defiant step at a time. The city at night can be a merciless mirror of your inner turmoil. I found myself wandering along dimly lit sidewalks, each step echoing against cold, unforgiving concrete. The bitter wind sliced through my clothes as if trying to peel away the remnants of a past life. Every gust a reminder of the warmth I'd once taken for granted. The streets, with their cracked pavement and dull neon glows, reflected back the isolated figure I had become. In the quiet hours, solitude morphed into an overwhelming presence. I ducked into an abandoned storefront, its darkened window a veil over a shelter of sorts. As I sat on a frayed bench beneath a flickering street lamp, a swirl of thoughts engulfed me. Here I am, alone, unwanted, abandoned. The everyday judgments and dismissals of family life now transformed into a profound bitterness. I questioned every step that led me away from familiarity. In that chilly silence, self-doubt crept in. Was I truly destined to wander these unforgiving alleys of rejection? Yet, amid the crushing desolation, a stubborn ember of determination began to kindle. Each shiver was no longer just a symptom of despair. It became a call, an urging to fight for something better. I recalled every whispered command and every cold dismissal that had haunted me at home. They were the seeds of a rebellion waiting to sprout. The hard, relentless isolation of these streets offered a brutal clarity. I was not just surviving the night, I was gathering the strength to build my own dawn. In that intersection of cold reality and inner resolve, I realized that my journey was not defined solely by the harshness of the streets. The isolation carried with it the raw material of renewal. Each step on these rough, unforgiving pavements was a step toward reinventing myself. A patchwork of shattered past dreams transformed into the resilience of a new beginning. In the suffocating quiet of another bleak night, as doubt and despair wove through every thought, an unexpected ember sparked within me. I was alone, cold, and broken by the harsh realities of abandonment. Yet, in that solitude, a daring idea began to take shape. Amid the darkness of my situation, I suddenly realized that the very tools of my oppressors, the systems they trusted to sustain their perfect image, could be turned against them. The thought struck like a bolt of lightning. Financial manipulation could be my weapon, a calculated act of rebellion against those who had deemed me worthless. Searching for a way to make this abandon so deliberate, I sought refuge in a cramped corner of a 24-hour internet cafe. The low hum of computers and the soft clatter of keyboards provided a strange kind of solace as I delved into the intricate world of credit systems. I spent hours at a modest desk, my eyes scanning online articles and obscure financial manuals that detailed how banks monitored and controlled credit. It was as if the esoteric language of interest rates, credit scores, and financial safeguards was whispering secrets directly to me. In that profound moment, the cold, detached mechanics of finance transformed into something vibrant, a tool for justice in the hands of one who had nothing left to lose. My heart pounded with a cocktail of exhilaration and trepidation. With every new piece of knowledge, I meticulously began crafting a plan where every number, every algorithm would serve as both shield and sword. The thrill of planning a revenge that was as calculated as it was cathartic replaced the aching sorrow of my past. This was not a reckless outburst of anger. It was a deliberate decision, born out of hard-earned wisdom. It was a reminder that even in our darkest moments, our intellect can become the spark that ignites profound transformation. This emerging blueprint of retribution was more than just a reaction. It was a declaration. I found empowerment not through destruction, but through the subversion of a system designed to enforce conformity and control. In that dim-lit space, as the mechanics of financial systems unveiled their vulnerabilities before my eyes, I embraced the onset of rebellion. The seed of resistance was firmly planted, destined to grow into a force that would shatter the grip of those who had so long defined my existence by their arbitrary standards. In the wake of my newfound awakening, I realized that vengeance had to be both clever and calculated. Every piece of information I discovered over countless hours online became a vital component of the plan. I immersed myself in forums, obscure digital manuals, and secure chat groups where once forgotten financial loopholes lay hidden like treasures. Each click was deliberate. Every note scrawled onto a yellowing pad, a piece of the intricate puzzle that would later transform into my digital arsenal. There, in the quiet hum of my old laptop and the steady drip of midnight rain against the window, I felt the stirring of purpose amidst the chaos. The digital realm, often a vast and anonymous expanse, revealed unexpected allies. In encrypted messaging groups where caution was as common as syntax errors, a particular name began to echo through the corridors of cyberspace: Ria. Known among shadowy circles as a maven of financial systems and a discreet fixer of broken codes, she emerged as a beacon of both technical prowess and quietly challenging spirit. One evening, I arranged a covert meeting at a nearly abandoned coffee shop. The dim light cast long shadows against the walls as Ria, with a knowing smile, slid over a thin envelope containing USB drives loaded with guidebooks and specialized software. Her calm assurance, delivered in low, determined tones, transformed my scattered research into a coherent strategy. In that moment, the intangible lines of code and abstract financial data crystallized into the tools of my resistance. Together with Ria's technical know-how and moral support, I meticulously pieced together an arsenal that was equivalent to a digital detective's ultimate counterstrike. I began integrating my findings into a step-by-step blueprint, detailing how each element of the credit system could be exploited with precision. Every resource, from encrypted online databases to hand-drawn flowcharts, added another layer of sophistication to my plan. The process was methodical and imbued with a blend of desperate necessity and the invigorating rush of empowerment. I found solace in the fact that even in isolation, the universe of digital rebels ensured I was not fighting alone. There was wisdom to be shared and alliances to be forged in the silent corridors of cyberspace. Every carefully assembled piece of my newfound arsenal was a testament to the fact that my fight was more than just personal. It was an act of reclaiming the dignity and autonomy stripped away from me for too long. With the digital weapons readied and a trusted mentor at my side, I knew I was on the verge of something transformative. The seeds of rebellion had now taken root in fertile ground, ready to burst forth into a counterstrike that would redefine the meaning of power and control. In the dead of night, with the city asleep and my heart hammering in my chest, I sat before the glow of my laptop screen, the silent arena for my high-stakes coup. Every key I pressed reverberated with a purpose that transcended mere anger. It was the culmination of every tear, every moment of isolation, and every lesson learned from a life that had tried to confine me. The digital interface, its familiar lines now transformed into tools of recompense, pulsed like a beacon in the darkness. I initiated the plan with deliberate precision. My fingers danced across the keyboard, entering commands and triggering protocols designed to sever the lifelines that had sustained my parents' perfect facade. One by one, digital alerts began to flood the screen. My actions set off a cascade of notifications, each one shimmering on the monitor like a microscopic indicator of a crumbling empire. It wasn't merely a freeze in the transactional sense. It was as if an entire financial infrastructure was shutting down piece by piece. Reviews of account statuses morphed into a virtual display of power reclaimed, each message a testament to the reversal of roles. In that charged moment, adrenaline and satisfaction intertwined. I watched as the defenses of a system long taken for granted faltered under the deliberate force of my intervention. Each alert, beeping in sequence, confirmed that the links holding together the carefully curated image of my family were dissolving. There was a surreal beauty in that fleeting digital chaos, the intricate web of numbers, transactions, and permissions collapsing into a silent ruin. The perfection they had so meticulously maintained was unraveling in real time, and with every update, the sting of betrayal was met by the warmth of vindication. The execution was more than a calculated act of revenge, it was a transformation. In those heart-pounding seconds, I felt both the chill of fear and the fire of resolve. The digital strike had not only halted financial transactions, it had sent a resounding message that I would no longer be defined by their control. Though the screen before me remained a jumble of codes and alerts, beneath it all burned a fierce determination to build a new reality. In the interplay of light and shadow on that monitor, I witnessed the end of an old life and the birth of something unbound, authentic, and fiercely my own. Together with Ria's technical know-how and moral support, I meticulously. The instant after my digital strike, silence reigned, but only for a brief moment before the storm broke loose. My phone erupted with a barrage of missed calls and messages. Soon, the shrill tones of a call from my father penetrated the night. His voice, usually as steady as concrete, yet now trembling with a mix of outrage and disbelief, demanded answers I wasn't sure I could give. "What have you done?" he barked, every word laced with raw indignation. "How dare you wrong this family?" His tone was a violent collision of betrayal and wounded pride, a bitter echo of years when my very existence had been measured by his standards. In that explosive moment, I felt both the fierce rush of retribution and a sting of regret for the bond that would never mend. Barely having processed the phone call, there came an unanticipated knock at the door. Opening it, I found my father standing there, his face a canvas of shock, fury, and something else, an unspoken sorrow. His eyes, usually so confident in their authority, now betrayed remorse mingled with seething anger. Words were exchanged in staccato bursts, voices raised in a cadence that reflected years of unspoken expectations now shattering into fragments. "I'm not the burden you always claimed I was," I insisted, my voice wavering between defiance and deep-seated sorrow. In the dim hallway light, every harsh word felt like a scalpel slicing through the layers of an illusion we had both upheld for far too long. Within me, chaos thundered in tandem with the confrontation. I was overwhelmed by a duality of emotions. The adrenaline of vindication coursed through my veins, electrifying every nerve, while a lingering sorrow clung to the edges of my awareness. Each harsh shout and bitter retort from my parents resonated deeply, unearthing memories of a childhood steeped in conditional love and endless demands. It was in these raw exchanges that I began to see the true cost of our fractured bond, not just their crumbling facade, but the ripple effect on my own soul. Even as the evening spiraled into an explosive torrent of accusations and shattered expectations, I found a momentary stillness in the storm of conflict. My internal monologue whispered a truth as old as the wounds between us. This wasn't just about cutting financial lifelines. It was about severing a lifetime of control and oppression. The collision of voices and emotions forced both them and me to confront what we had lost. I had reclaimed my power, yet in that power lay the bittersweet realization that revenge, no matter how cathartic, came with its own toll. A toll measured not in dollars, but in the silent grief of lost trust. In the aftermath of the confrontation, with the echoes of our heated words fading into the night, I stood at a crossroads. The fallout was messy and painful, but it also marked the beginning of a long overdue reckoning. It became clear that while no victory could mend the scars nor resurrect the bonds of family, it would at least pave the way for me to rebuild my life on my own terms, a step toward redefining freedom in a world where expectations had been shattered. The day I set foot on campus, the air crackled with the promise of a fresh start. With the echoes of past betrayals behind me, I navigated a world that was unfamiliar yet dangerously inviting. The sprawling lawns, bustling walkways, and purpose-driven chatter of students created a vibrant tapestry, a stark contrast to the cold, isolating streets I had known. Here, in this unlikely haven, every corner whispered the possibility of being part of something greater than the sum of my former despair. In the lecture halls, I discovered that more than academic wisdom, professors imparted tales of perseverance and transformation. One professor, whose own past was etched in quiet resilience, spoke with a passion that ignited a spark within me. Between classes, I found solace in the gentle rhythm of campus life. I joined a study group that gathered under the storied canopy of a centuries-old oak tree, a natural monument to endurance. In that circle, among individuals whose eyes held both hidden wounds and unyielding hope, I finally experienced the steady, grounding pulse of community. Every discussion, every shared laugh over late-night study sessions became a building block of a new foundation, replacing the unyielding isolation of my past with the warmth of genuine connection. Over time, unexpected mentors and friends emerged, each adding a rich hue to my evolving identity. Late evenings spent at the campus cafe turned into heartfelt conversations about dreams, failures, and the courage to rebuild. Their encouragement, a welcomed counterpoint to years of conditional love, taught me that support can come from the most unforeseen places. Here, the simple act of belonging was transformative. The campus wasn't just an academic institution, it was an anchor in the storm, a place where the raw material of my pain was reshaped into strength and possibility. In that nurturing environment, the chill of abandonment began to thaw. The support I found among peers and mentors became proof that life's harshest adversities could pave the way to growth. Each new connection, each shared moment of understanding fueled my resolve to build a future on my own terms. Here, in the humble spaces of everyday interactions and collective learning, I discovered that hope was as tangible as a smile exchanged over a challenging problem, and as steadfast as the roots of the ancient oak under which we all sought refuge. Balancing college life with the ever-present echoes of my past felt like walking a tightrope suspended over a chasm of memories. In the early hours of a brisk gray morning, I sat in a lecture hall, troubled yet determined, realizing that every academic challenge was a gauntlet thrown by my past. The professor's questions in calculus, the rigorous debates in a philosophy seminar, the endless research projects, all of these demands pushed my mind to its limits. In every moment of doubt, I could almost hear the cold dismissal from my parents and see the sharp contours of their expectations. Yet each test and assignment became a battleground where I fought not just for grades, but for the reclamation of my identity. During one particularly grueling exam, as I stared down a complex problem that seemed insurmountable, my mind involuntarily wandered back to that fateful day of my 22nd birthday. I remembered the trembling of my hands as I packed my belongings into 2 battered suitcases, and the searing sting of my father's harsh words echoing in the background. In that flash of memory, the classroom around me dissolved into the dim corridors of my past, where betrayal and abandonment had once robbed me of my worth. Instead of succumbing to despair, however, I harnessed that recalled pain as fuel. Every obstacle now served as a reminder that I was no longer that powerless child, but a young adult forging a future on my own terms. Outside the structured confines of the classroom, personal setbacks tested me in quieter, yet no less challenging ways. Late nights in the campus library, weighed down by textbooks and a growing mountain of assignments, became arenas where I battled the destructive whispers of self-doubt. Flickering screens and scattered notes formed a mosaic of perseverance, a testament to the inner strength I discovered with every flash of memory that reminded me, you are more than their expectations. The struggle was visceral, a constant interplay of frustration and determination. The scars of past rejection, once a source of constant pain, had been transformed into the very elements that propelled me forward. They were the raw materials from which I built my resilience. In these moments of academic and personal trial, I began to see a greater truth emerge. The very experiences that had once crippled my self-esteem had also instilled in me a powerful capacity for growth. The more I confronted my past through the lens of my studies and daily life, the clearer it became that each challenge was a stepping stone to mastering not just the subjects at hand, but myself. Every flashback that threatened to overwhelm me was met with a surge of silent defiance, proof that I was no longer defined by broken expectations, but by my relentless commitment to rise anew. As I navigated this labyrinth of learning and self-discovery, I realized that resilience was not the absence of hardship, but the courage to meet each new challenge head-on, fueled by the fire of transformation born from my past. In the soft glow of early morning, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the campus window, a face that once bore the weight of betrayal, now radiating quiet defiance. Every day since leaving behind a life of imposed expectations, I have been reinventing myself in small, remarkable ways. There were moments when I received emails bearing the word "congratulations" for acing a difficult exam. Moments when my professors encouraged me with a nod or a kind word. A quiet but powerful affirmation that I was no longer defined by what I had lost, but by the future I was determined to create. These were not grand gestures, but each one served as a stepping stone, a reminder that even minute victories could pave the way to profound transformation. I recall an afternoon in the library where the pages of textbooks mingled with the scribbles of my aspirations. In that quiet sanctuary, my internal dialogue resonated fiercely. I am not the victim I once was. Every challenge I face is an opportunity to build something new and unyielding. The memory of cold dismissals and shattered family ties still lingered, but they had hardened into lessons rather than wounds. I found solace in late-night study sessions with newfound friends, where laughter and shared struggles cultivated an environment of mutual empowerment. Each conversation, every collaborative effort, was a declaration that I was no longer confined to a narrative of abandonment. I was actively scripting a story of resilience and self-determination. Walking through campus, I built bonds with peers who, like me, had scars hidden beneath their smiles. We exchanged stories of setbacks and triumphs, testifying that our pasts might shape us, but they did not define us. In those exchanges, I discovered that community was a wellspring of strength, a place where hope grew from the smallest victories. A well-answered question in class, a shared meal with a mentor who saw beyond the surface, a quiet moment of understanding amidst the chaos of life. As the chapters of my journey unfolded, what was once a deep, echoing pain transformed into a powerful rallying cry within me. I am the architect of my destiny, I would reaffirm during moments of introspection, reconciling the bitterness of betrayal with the boundless empowerment of forging my own path. This evolution, from enduring hardship to embracing the survivor spirit, was not a dramatic rebirth, but a gradual accumulation of moments that redefined who I was. It was realized in the cumulative effect of acing tests, nurturing meaningful relationships, and in every small yet victorious act of self-creation. The victories of that day, each one as luminous as a star in a dark sky, were both a testament to the battles I had waged and a promise to myself that I would never let someone else's definition of worth dictate my future. In embracing the survivor spirit, I learned that true strength lies not in denying the past, but in transforming its shadows into the fuel that powers a brighter, self-made tomorrow. In the calm hours of an early evening, I found myself alone in a quiet corner of the campus garden, where the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant hum of student life formed a serene backdrop. It was here, away from the adrenaline of my past actions, that I allowed myself a moment of uninterrupted reflection. As the sky shifted from a fading gold to the deep hues of twilight, I pondered on the journey I had endured, the fierce battles of revenge and the arduous climb towards self-reliance. Every heartbeat carried memories of a time when the thrill of defiance surged through me, a fleeting adrenaline that, although intoxicating at that moment, revealed its transient nature when contrasted with the lasting peace born of genuine independence. I recalled the intense rush as I watched the digital shields of my past crumble under my calculated strike, the instant of satisfaction that made me feel invincible. Yet, even in that charged silence of vindication, a subtler voice reminded me that the power I had seized was as temporary as it was bitter. The echoes of my parents' scorn and the bitter taste of rebellion had carved deep lines into my heart, a mosaic of pain and awakening. In these still moments, I realized that while revenge had momentarily unearthed a well of defiant power, it did little to mend the deeper fractures in my soul. Instead, what remained with me was a dawning awareness that true freedom could never come from tearing down another's facade. Amid the soft light and whispering wind, I engaged in an intimate dialogue with myself. Had I sacrificed parts of my future on the altar of revenge? I weighed what was gained, a hard-fought reclaiming of dignity, and what was irretrievably lost, the remnants of trust, the childhood innocence, the idealized vision of family unity. This reflective solitude was not a moment of regret, but a necessary reckoning. It taught me that the power to redefine my future lay not in the fleeting ecstasy of inflicted pain, but in the enduring strength of self-made success and honest self-worth. I understood then that every bite of revenge had its own price, a cost measured in long nights of doubt and the slow erosion of a once hopeful heart. In that quiet introspection, I embraced the lesson that true freedom comes not from tearing others down, but from building a life on the firm foundations of self-respect and personal growth. The scars of betrayal, once searing reminders of a painful past, were being transmuted into emblems of resilience, a map of lessons learned along this rugged path. While the immediate satisfaction of revenge had ignited my journey, it was the painstaking, deliberate work of creating my own destiny that promised lasting peace. In the interplay of memories and hopes, I began to shape an identity not defined by the errors of the past, but by the unyielding promise of tomorrow. Standing as I did, under the soft glow of twilight, I recognized that growth often demands reconciliation with pain. My heart, though still softened by the chill of old wounds, now beat with the steady rhythm of self-reliance. With every lesson absorbed, every painful truth confronted, the path forward became clearer, a path where the price of revenge was repaid in the currency of wisdom, and where my future would be constructed brick by brick with integrity and unbreakable self-worth. I understood then that every bite of revenge had its own price, a cost measured in long nights of doubt and the slow erosion of a once hopeful heart. In that quiet introspection, I embraced the lesson that true freedom comes not from tearing others down, but from building a life on the firm foundations of self-respect and personal growth. The scars of betrayal, once searing reminders of a painful past, were being transmuted into emblems of resilience, a map of lessons learned along this rugged path. While the immediate satisfaction of revenge had ignited my journey, it was the painstaking, deliberate work of creating my own destiny that promised lasting peace. In the interplay of memories and hopes, I began to shape an identity not defined by the errors of the past, but by the unyielding promise of tomorrow. Standing as I did, under the soft glow of twilight, I recognized that growth often demands reconciliation with pain. My heart, though still softened by the chill of old wounds, now beat with the steady rhythm of self-reliance. With every lesson absorbed, every painful truth confronted, the path forward became clearer, a path where the price of revenge was repaid in the currency of wisdom, and where my future would be constructed brick by brick with integrity and unbreakable self-worth. The morning sun rose over a city that now pulsed with my own vibrant energy, a far cry from the oppressive shadows I once knew. Standing atop the modest balcony of my new apartment, I surveyed a skyline that symbolized not just a change in scenery, but a transformation deep within me. Below, the scars of my old life, once markers of rejection and betrayal, seemed to crumble away like ancient ruins, replaced by the steady construction of my self-made destiny. The triumph of independence was no longer a fleeting high, but a living, breathing journey toward a future defined by my own choices. I walked through campus one crisp, clear day, the energy of my fellow students mingling with the grateful beat of my own heart. Each step was a reminder of how far I had come, from the isolation of the streets to a place where genuine connections filled me with hope. The echoes of once haunting memories now played in reverse, serving not as reminders of pain, but as fuel for the triumphant soul I had crafted. Conversations with new friends, quiet moments with mentors, and even the thrill of academic challenges all intertwined to create a tapestry of victories, each thread a testament to my resilience and the rebirth of my spirit. In the fullness of this reclaimed life, I now embrace a truth both simple and profound. Success and happiness are the best responses to rejection. To anyone who has felt the sting of betrayal and the weight of imposed limitations, remember, your power lies in the courage to redefine your worth. Every setback is simply a rough draft of the masterpiece you are destined to create. The journey from victim to victor is paved with hard-won lessons and quiet moments of self-discovery. Today, I stand here not as a remnant of the past, but as enduring proof that personal transformation is the ultimate form of revenge, a radiant celebration of freedom built from the stones of our former pain.